What's up, everybody? Welcome to IGN Game Scoop. I'm your host, Damon Hatfield. Joining me today, Ryan McCaffrey.
Hello.
Vincent Janito.
Yo.
Marty Sleva.
Hey, everybody.
We've got a great show for you today. We're going to talk about that Phantom Dust reboot. We're going to talk about the classic Fear Effect.
Ooh.
Let's start with Mortal Kombat X.
Whoa.
Okay.
This is coming out very soon, April 14th. Everyone's very excited about it.
What the hell's the Predator doing on screen?
That's
How did he get there?
I thought exactly, Marty. Why don't we talk about that?
This is the rumor that Predator is going to be a downloadable character coming after release this summer.
Yep. That makes total sense.
Yeah,
Right?
obviously, doesn't it? I wish that this was so outlandish that I'd be like, that'll never happen.
Look at this photo of Predator killing Scorpion.
So this is, this rumor started last summer. A fan made this.
LASIK.
Yeah.
A fan made this and tweeted it at Ed Boon, creator of Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
And he retweeted it and was like,
retweeted
oh,
it, yeah.
snap.
Yeah.
And now, several months later, videogamer.com is reporting that their sources tell them this is actually happening. So that's a little strange that like this fan art ends up becoming a real thing, navigating all the licensing issues and actually happening.
But how do we know that the fan that made this art isn't the same person that writes for videogamer.com?
we don't know.
That's about,
We don't know. Like, this couldn't be a less substantiated.
I will say this.
rumor.
I looked into this a little bit, and I did find out that, so unfortunately we all know that Sega suffered some, turmoil recently, and they're downsizing a lot.
Yeah.
I did find out that their Alien Predator agreement's over.
Oh, wow.
So there's there's no roadblock, at least with Sega having the license and having to partner up with WB to get a Mortal Kombat. So that is not an issue. So that's one hurdle cleared.
And in terms of coherence with the MKU, as it would be, you don't really have to worry about that. You're shaking your head in shame.
I mean, because what did we have?
Marvel comic with a K.
Yeah. I mean, we've had
the Mortal Kombat.
Freddy was in the last one.
Freddy was in the last one.
Right here.
This is the the scourge of fighting games. The guest character.
We had Kratos. Was in the last one as well.
You've had Spawn.
If computer wants to bring up our B-roll here, you can see that right now.
Yeah, no, it's just this is a thing that a lot of different fighting games have done over the years, and it's like
Jesus, what is that?
Congrats,
Freddie, you did it.
Yeah, thanks, Freddie.
You killed Johnny Depp.
You sure did
Nod
that.
to the Johnny Depp.
The
Fighting games, ladies and gentlemen. No, it's one of those things where I don't like it because it's always just marketing, right? It's just like, hey, people who don't care about fighting games, this game's got Freddy Krueger now. This game's got the Predator in it.
Totally works with me.
I know.
I'm not a huge fighting game guy. The only reason I think Marvel vs. Capcom is because I'm like, I know who all these people are. This is awesome. Yeah.
Sure. And that's exactly what it. And that's fine because in that sense, they're making a game that's all about those properties.
What is happening? What are we looking at? Whoa!
What is
Babyality?
Have you guys never played a Mortal Kombat ever?
No, I've played Mortal Kombat. I just don't. Usually at the end, I try to do something cool, and I just punch someone in the crotch, and then they fall down.
That's probably cooler than half the fatalities, but it always makes me crazy because it is, to me, there's no continuity with the universe there. Not that I care so much about lore, but it's marketing. It's like, hey, look, guys, there's a famous character in the game.
I would much rather play as Predator in Mortal Kombat than as Spawn, which is
That's
the other
thing.
Oh,
sure.
Yeah.
I mean, Spawn will give flashbacks to original Xbox fans from Soul Calibur days. Nintendo version gets Link, and we get Spawn.
If you missed that news, Todd McFarlane apparently had a meeting with Warner Brothers and gave his consent, his blessing.
Yeah.
Please
going to allow them to use
someone,
which actually sounded kind of desperate. He was like, I want Spawn to get any more attention.
Please make this character relevant again somehow.
Yeah.
So Spawn could also be showing up.
Could it be John Leguizamo's character from the movie in the game?
The fat clown dude. Or just John Leguizamo himself. Yeah.
John Leguizamo turned out to be a fine actor, I think.
House of Buggin'. Tells of television series.
Chef. He was awesome at Chef.
Vince, you're a fighting game fan.
Yes.
You say.
Yes.
How excited are you for Mortal Kombat X?
Pretty excited, especially considering it's a Mortal Kombat game. I mean, typically people know that I've never really been a huge Mortal Kombat fan. I don't hate on it at all, but it's always been
like Ocarina of Time.
Right, exactly.
Or Super Mario 64.
Those I'm total haters of, and I'm proud to. No, I'm not a hater, but No, I'm excited for it because with every step that NetherRealm was taken, I feel they've brought the franchise closer and closer in line to like what I want out of a fighting game. It's become more and more fluid. It's gotten deeper and deeper as they've gone on, and I love that. And so far from what I've played of MKX, it's continuing that tradition. So I am excited to see where they take it.
And obviously, you're not the only one because Mortal Kombat does insane numbers on the site.
Kills for us.
Shocking. Like we know, kills for us, but like it is like it's insane. It's right up there.
Yeah,
if most popular games on the site.
If IGN is any indication, Mortal Kombat X is going to sell approximately 35 bajillion copies.
Yeah, give or take.
It's in terms of traffic on IGN this year, it's the 10th most popular game on IGN in
crazy.
2015.
Yeah, which for a fighting game is insane.
A 20-plus-year-old fighting game, series. I mean, that's some longevity right there. That's impressive.
But that history kind of plays in its favor, really, because if I want to get up on the rooftops and shout about how amazing Persona 4 Arena is, like practically no one in the IGN audience seems to listen or care that much.
Also, the police would ask you to come down.
Most likely.
Life is worth living, Vince. It's gonna be okay. Just come down, man. We love you.
No, Persona 4 is really good, and you have to play it. And it is really good, and you should play it. But yeah, I think that those older franchises that just have their roots in the arcades and people growing up just have so much nostalgia power behind them that they drive the interest.
Quick tangent. One of the most, I think, underappreciated guys in gaming, people in gaming, Ed Boon. The guy has been making the same series, mostly, other than the Injustice side. I mean, he's making Mortal Kombat games for 20 years, and he still has the passion and the talent to get it done. He hasn't just said, God, can I please make a racing game? I'm out of here. And he just, every year, man, this guy's out there.
Do we know if Ed Boon is actually good at Mortal Kombat? Has anyone played against him?
I would guess
that's a headline.
No, I would guess that he's not, just because.
Whoa.
I mean, he's probably. I mean, this is the thing. The people who create the games are, especially now, and they're aware of this, are creating a tool set to facilitate more advanced players to run away with it. And like the difference between then and now is that then I bet you, and this is totally speculation, I bet you 10, 15 years ago, Ed Boon and the people making whatever Mortal Kombat was just coming out then probably thought they were good at it.
And I also, we have a sort of former pro, current pro, our all-around first-person shooter guru, Alfredo Diaz, and he has actually explained to me, this is a real thing, pro players, the guys that play for money as careers, apparently when you hit 25, you're physically like done. Like,
your reflexes begin to dip at 25.
Ed Boon's 40-something. I'm 34. I mean, I'm done for as well. Like,
I like that it's at 25. Like, hey, so you can't do this job anymore, but you can rent a car. Congrats.
No, but honestly, the players are always. In the long run, the players are always better than the developers. And if you put Ed Boon against, like, I don't know, Perfect Legend or I don't know, CD Junior,
Slam and Salmon.
I'm sure
Jackie Two Thumbs.
Jackie Two Thumbs is crazy good. No, but you put him against any of those the real players, and that's just how it goes. But I'm sure he's serviceable.
All right. Well, Mortal Kombat X is out April 14th. Predator not confirmed, but I'd say it's not outside the NetherRealm of possibility that it could.
Bye.
Gotta go. Show's over.
I forgot prior engagement.
Moving on. That Xbox One Ultimate Game Sale has kicked off this week. You guys gonna pick anything up?
There's a lot of good stuff here. We talked about this on Podcast Unlocked, which is our weekly Xbox podcast here. If you haven't ever given it a listen, this week I played an awesome joke on Marty. It was fun.
It was not fun. It was not fun at all.
Super fun.
Also, it was an awesome joke combined with the fact that your dog was in the room and I started having an allergic reaction. So
you're still here, aren't you?
Barely.
Are you allergic to happiness? Because that's what his dog is.
Maggie is Xbox Game Sale.
For me, highlights are the South Park: The Stick of Truth for $15.
Oh my God,
that's pretty good.
For 360, obviously. Of all the games to get ported over to the new consoles, and no South Park, but Mirror's Edge, $3.
Yep.
$3. That's like the price of a Big Mac.
It's the price of a bus ticket.
And it's way better for you
than a Big Mac.
Jeez.
Mirror's Edge, $3. I mean, there's a new one in development. If you still have your 360 around, for the love of God, try Mirror's Edge. It's one of the most unique. It's one of my top 10 for
both
sure.
Both of us. We're both.
Do you think we get an update on the next Mirror's Edge at E3?
Yes. If not, it would be deeply troubling. Because
it was 2 E3s ago that they announced it, right?
And then last E3 there was a slight, they gave sort of a little weird, which was odd. The Telltale Games collection is 5 seasons of their, so it's both Walking Dead,
5
both
full
Among-
seasons.
for $55. That's $11 a season.
Yeah, it's
That's
amazing.
Great.
Yeah,
Which is like half off what the bundle usually costs, right? Something like that? It's like-
Destiny for $40. If you haven't gotten in on Destiny, that's fantastic.
Is that just 360 or is that also?
Oh no, that's I believe that's both.
Okay, nice.
Xbox One. And then if you've got a Kinect, Fantasia is one of the only good Kinect games for Xbox One. That's $20. And the other one, Alien Isolation, of course, not my cup of tea, but lots of people love
like it.
Yeah,
Sure.
and that's great. It's hey, we have different opinions. Yay! So $25. I mean, that's a great deal for that game.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool that the Telltale collection comes with season passes for the shows, for the games that are not complete yet.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
for Tales of the Borderlands and Game of Thrones, it's pretty cool. So you're not getting complete versions of Walking Dead and The Wolf Among Us, and then just the whatever we have now of the other two. You're gonna get everything of all of them.
I will gladly pay you today for a Telltale game on Thursday.
Topical.
Excellent.
Popeye humor. That's no one, literally no one's like, what? What are you saying?
You're definitely the dad of this group.
Google Popeye cartoon on YouTube.
Oh, that just made me cry a little bit inside.
The one I'm definitely
Wimpy, he likes hamburgers. Let's move on.
The one I'm definitely picking up is Lara Croft and the Temple of Osiris for $8.
This came out too, like.
Well, it came out in December. It was like an awkward time because I was like going on vacation and there are other
everyone's
games, other like
all the holiday
Far Cry 4,
Super
so-
fun multiplayer game too.
Yeah, I loved the first game and I wanted to play this one, and now is the perfect time. It's only $8.
Yeah.
What I like about this game is that it adjusts the puzzle a little bit depending if you have 2 players, 3 players, 4 players,
Yeah.
or 1.
The first one did that. The first one was a 2-player game, and the puzzles would change
Like
depending on
scale.
whether or not
Yeah.
you're playing by yourself.
Yeah.
It's really smart, really game. I feel like this game came and didn't get a lot of fanfare.
Yeah, it didn't seem like
Yeah, it was a tough. December's a tough time to release
Yeah,
a game.
it's kind of an awkward
Yeah.
time. Anyway, do we think we're moving towards Steam-style constant sales for consoles? It's kind of an awkward
I hope
question.
so.
I hope so.
That'd be
Yeah.
It's
awesome.
just like-
I think we have a long way to go, though.
There's PlayStation Plus games every month that are free. Games with gold every month that are free, and then the daily deals with gold, or
Yeah.
the weekly deals with gold. PlayStation Store has their flash sales. It just
Yeah.
seems like more and more there's these constant sales and bargains that are happening on consoles.
I think the first parties are starting to realize, hey, we need to keep people engaged on our consoles. And the days of a tentpole $60 release and then maybe 6 months to a year later it drops to $40 are over. You've got to keep it, and it's in the publisher's best interest too, because the third-party publishers, because they want to keep their IPs moving, keep them current, and has because there are so many games.
Yeah.
You just talked about Lara Croft, where I missed that because I was playing the 6,000 other games that came out. Now that comes around again. $8, sure. I heard that was pretty good. Yeah, I'm definitely going to get that. So I sure hope it's the start of something.
It's also
great.
smart timing on Microsoft's part, just because obviously Sony has a lot of headlines this week because the orders coming out. Like a big first party game. So them being like, hey, here's a bunch of rad Xbox games that are on sale, almost is like, well, maybe I'll stay on my 360 or on my Xbox One as opposed to just spend all my time this weekend on my PS4.
And it's just a quiet time, right? I mean, the next big Microsoft release, you got Scream Ride, which isn't like a big release, but it's a neat first-party game. We liked it a lot when we played it. And then Ori and the Blind Forest in
which looks
March
beautiful.
10th, which looks stunning.
How is that not out yet? That
so
was
soon.
It's coming.
3 weeks.
It's all set to go. And then, the State of Decay Xbox One version in April. So, it's a kind of a good time for Microsoft. It's like, okay, well, it's a little quiet on our platform right now. Let's mix it up.
People are looking for things to play.
Yeah.
To fill the gap.
Well, there are lots of good deals in the Xbox One Ultimate Game Sale, but as people will complain about anything, I saw a lot of people in the comments complaining that these are just digital games.
Oh, they're just digital?
hell?
Yeah.
It's not the real game?
I know.
Yeah.
You mean it's just that stupid digital version?
Yeah.
I'm totally
Where's
disappointed.
my instruction booklet?
Oh my god.
Yeah,
I've been saying that for like 5 years.
Yeah, people are going to complain about everything. It's just sort of the nature of humanity's awful.
Well, that was like when 343 said, okay, we're going to give all of you guys Halo 3 ODST as a free download as sort of a mea culpa. Where's Reach?
Where's Reach?
I want Reach too. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Well, speaking of those Microsoft exclusives, Phantom Dust, a reboot of a 2005, I think, cult favorite.
Cult is putting it strongly. I previously, before I came to IGN, I worked at Official Xbox Magazine for about 10 years. and I never played this game. That's how sort of.
I've
never played the original Phantom Dust.
Phantom Dust. That surprises me a little bit. Yeah, given your background, but
can't play them all.
No, you can't.
Most of them.
What's happening?
So first of all,
really
a reboot was announced at E3.
Yes, I remember that.
And I squealed like a little girl.
This is a card. It's a card battle game.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, the original was a card battle game, so they announced they were rebooting it, and then Microsoft has been hyping it recently, talking about how it's a 30-hour-long Japanese RPG.
Ken Lobb went on a podcast.
But then news came this week that the developer, Darkside Games, of this reboot was shut down.
Righto.
Microsoft terminated the contract with them.
So what is the situation? This is a developer that's been around for a while, and they do contract work on Borderlands pre-sequel, Sunset Overdrive, Gears of War Judgment, and now they're developing Phantom Dust. And then Microsoft terminates their contract, and the studio has to shut down immediately?
Yeah,
it's weird, right?
It says, it gives me bad vibes, and I've never been, I don't think I've screamed so loud as an adult when they announced this reboot. I mean, I was so excited. I put so many hours into this game with my friends when it originally came out on Xbox Live. It was like this and Halo 2 were like my two probably most played Xbox Live games.
So number one, any faint hope anyone may have had of this being a 2015 game, which they never even set a date.
Right, that's gone. Right, sure. And I'm fine with that. I guess what concerns me more than anything is, so when they said they were making it like a 30-plus hour JRPG framework for the game, that sounded intriguing to me because I do like RPGs, and I feel like what they do, where it's like you're basically trying to obtain rare cards to make your deck more powerful and become a stronger, fighter. That kind of fits well into the framework of an RPG, I think. Mm-hmm. But I felt like it was going to be maybe a little bit too much extra fluff around what I want to do, which is just get into these multiplayer card battles. So I'm wondering if maybe that the vision that they started to set out for themselves and started to execute on maybe wasn't close enough to the original vision, and they wanted to scrap it and go from scratch and make it more like what the original was. But that could be kind of wishful thinking. I'm afraid it's the other way around.
Yeah,
maybe.
It really could be anything because we don't know. It could be Microsoft wasn't happy with the direction, so they pulled the plug. It could be the developer, who knows? I mean, it's not necessarily the fault of one side or another. We may never know, but I was thinking, who would be good to, in the spirit of this game, who would be good to take it on? And the one studio that came to mind is, because I believe they're independent, they're available, Stainless Games, the guys that do the Magic the Gathering Duels of the Planeswalkers.
Yeah. Except that the last one was such a debacle. The last Magic the Gathering Duels of the Planeswalkers.
Isn't the new one better?
Well, they fixed it. They tweaked it. Yeah, but
So real talk, I think I've been getting. I thought Phantom Dust was a game about giant mechs. So I think I was getting confused with Chrome Hounds.
I think
there was a game called Chrome Hounds.
Yeah, Chrome Hounds awesome.
Software.
I love Chrome Hounds.
From made that game.
Yeah, From made that game. It's a From game.
Pretty ambitious online.
Very ambitious,
too,
Had this whole persistent online war. Very, very cool game. But I'm just afraid that what this is actually going to be now is them going, a 3D multiplayer card battle game. Ain't no one gonna play that.
Well,
let's put in chainsaw guns, and it's just gonna make it like a.
I actually am a little. I have a suspicion, and I hope I'm not just being pessimistic. I hope this doesn't happen, but I would not be surprised if that game just never comes out at this point. Like it just sort of quietly fades off. I mean, it was the most surprising announcement for me at Microsoft's E3 because it's like of all the interesting little IPs that Microsoft has in the vault, particularly from the original Xbox days. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Phantom Dust would not have been the one I would have thought of to bring back.
For me, it was absolutely the first one on my mind. If you told me what's a weird Microsoft IP that they've been sitting on for a while that you'd love to see come back, Phantom Dust would absolutely be the first thing that I would come out of my mouth because it was an underappreciated game. It was so ahead of its time in terms of its online functionality and just the way they made basically a 3D action game out of what's essentially a card-based deck building game was just brilliant design, and the art was amazing.
I don't know if you said this, Damon, but Microsoft did claim that the game is still in development.
Yeah, they said development will continue.
We just don't know where.
Yeah.
Also, real talk, this girl's got a weird coat. Like, look how high that thing goes up, and then it's got a buckle. Like, she's putting her buckle around her face.
Where she lives, it's very cold, so she needs to like zip up. It's like a turtleneck.
And there's dust everywhere, so you don't want to breathe that in. It's like wearing
and
masks and
they're reversed to hats.
Worse than asbestos.
Asbestos.
And they're reversed to hats, so you need your collar to cover your ears completely.
Makes sense.
That is a new way to pop a collar right there. That is taking it to the next level.
That collar is super popped.
Yeah.
I really like collectible card games, so I really like the idea of a modern, first-party funded collectible card
Blizzard
game
will just
for
take over.
Xbox One. Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
So
Blizzard would knock it out of the. I mean, it's not obviously never going to happen. But when you talk about a developer that I think would absolutely nail it, like that combination of taking the kind of more cerebral, deliberate kind of card collecting and deck building game, but then make it something that's charismatic and fun. Yeah, Hearth Dust. I'll play the hell out of that game.
Hearthstone already has dust. So
Right. So there you go. Conspiracy. We figured it out. We know who's developing it.
Crack the code.
All right, next up. Square Enix wants developers to pitch ideas for Gex, Fear Effect, and Anachronox.
Yeah.
Not familiar with that last one.
Anachronox, funny story. So, do you remember Ion Storm? Daikatana?
Yep.
Yeah, well,
Deus Ex.
Yeah.
John Romero.
That was like polar opposite ends of the spectrum. Yeah, you had Warren Spector and
Look at this guy.
Yeah. Look at that guy.
Why is he
Gex,
holding a
but-
TV remote?
Oh, his whole thing's about TV. He's
that-
obsessed with TV, and then he gets pulled into the TV world, and every level is based on a different television.
Anachronox was done, if I remember correctly, by a gentleman named Tom Hall, who's a longtime industry veteran, worked at id Software for a while. It was a Quake engine role-playing game. They made a full-up RPG out of the Quake engine that was very it was sci-fi, but it was very funny, and apparently it was very good, but it didn't sell super well. But yeah, so it definitely falls into the sort of cult hit.
So this is part of the Square Enix Collective, which is Square Enix initiative to fund, or no, they don't even fund. What are they doing? They're looking for, they'll partner with independent
They
developers.
take 20, you make something and then they take 20%.
Yeah, and it's pretty much like we have all these IPs, especially
deal.
after the IDOS deal. Like we have all these IP that we're not going to do anything. Like we're not going to make a Gex game. We're not going to make a Fear Effect game. But if you want to pitch us and you want to do it, you can do it. And then we'll just publish it and we'll.
But they don't. Yeah, you still have to fund it yourself via Kickstarter or some other means.
Yeah.
And then we'll take 20%. So I'm not sure what Square Enix does.
Yeah,
in this.
they did. I mean, I think they
put their name on it.
Pain
It's like
was in the
they're-
Do they
same.
provide consulting?
It's like The Sopranos. They're just taking points.
Yeah, it's
taking
fantastic.
20 points.
Shakedown.
Yeah.
It's the
Well,
big.
I mean, they're providing the license. They're providing the.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
so this is the first time they've provided their own IPs. They have partnered with other developers to create original games before, something called Goetia, I think.
Yeah.
This is the first time you can pitch Square properties: Gex, Fear Effect, and Anachronox.
Anachronox actually is it is a fascinating universe and could be a really interesting. I could see somebody doing something really
Yeah.
interesting.
So I never played Fear Effect, and all I remember about Fear Effect were those like super scandalous ads.
Yeah.
Like you'd open up EGM, and it'd be
exactly.
it's just like, hey, here's two girls kissing. We're not gonna tell you what the game's about, but you should play it.
Let's take a look at
Which at the
Fear
time
Effect.
was
Computer beep boop.
which at the time was absolutely completely out of like the realm of anything that you were seeing
Yeah,
in games
this
at
is
the time.
this is
Like, so
titillating.
yeah, this is Fear Effect. What does a Fear Effect game look like today?
Hopefully a lot more tasteful.
I mean, so this is it's like a Resident Evil game. I mean, like mechanically, it seems like a Resident Evil game.
Yeah, they're considered action adventure games.
running.
Yeah.
They have a female protagonist, but like you, I didn't play them back in the day
Yeah.
either. I just remember all the advertising was about the sexuality of the game.
Yeah.
And Gex is like that's scraping the bottom of the failed mascot barrel right there.
So yeah, Gex was one of those 3D. I mean, I guess the first one was the 2D platformer, but then they went 3D. It was sort of that era when like we were talking about the collectathon games and then stuff like Spyro and everything. I remember liking Gex.
Yeah, it was fine.
Gex was solid. It was
And
fine.
it became like this really weird fourth wall breaking, self-aware thing, and I used to remember it being full of Austin Powers jokes, which would just be huge in 2015.
Yeah.
What's next? Bubsy and Arrow the Acrobat.
Oh, we had
my
Bubsy
God.
3D come out for free later. Arrow the Acrobat.
They
geez.
made what was the Konami one with the rocket?
Rocket Knight.
Oh, Rocket Knight.
Yeah,
Rocket
they
Knight
made
Adventures.
a new one for
Yeah, that's
Xbox
right.
Live
Yeah,
and
yeah.
PSN, didn't they?
Yeah.
Wait, they did?
Yeah, like a few years
They made
ago.
a new Rocket Knight Adventures.
Yeah, they did like a Rocket Knight Adventures HD kind of thing. A couple years ago. Yeah. Like Gex he's got a money pin that's just a $sign. That's
He's got his Oakleys.
Yeah.
Baller.
He's got his Oaks.
Were the Gex games all 2D platformers?
The first one was 2D, the second and third,
they
Enter the
went to
Gecko, and
They went to
Deep
3D.
something was 3D.
Yeah.
Deep something.
They could partner with Geico today.
Oh God, that's.
What if the Lizard Squad comes? Remember those guys?
Well, there was the 7-Up's Cool Spot had his own game.
Oh my
so
God!
did the Yo Noid.
The Noid. Avoid the Noid.
Domino's.
Chester Cheeto had his own game. Or
That's
Chester
right.
Cheetah.
That's right.
I think there were 2 Fear Effect games, or were there 3?
I remember 2.
I remember two. Yeah.
Fear Effect 2 Double Helix. Anytime we talk about Fear Effect, I love bringing up this ad. Let's bring up this ad. This is
Whoa.
Yep, this is the stuff I was talking about.
This is great. So, 2 girls in their underwear. One is giving the other a back rub. They're reading a magazine
There's a quote
called
from IGN.com
Big Guns.
on there.
Let me read this quote. Wow, this game is freaking filthy beyond belief. I mean, like, one look at this game and my mom would never let me go home again. But Mark Nix likes it because it's got boobies. Not as many as Danger Girl, but still.
How is that a quoted ad?
What? Now, to be fair, I don't think this ad was ever actually published. But this is
almost disagree. I remember this image.
I don't know about the quote, but I'm with Marty. This image was definitely in video game magazines. Definitely in video game magazines.
pretty amazing that there's an IGN quote that references Mark Nix.
Also,
who's on our database
I get
team.
the climax joke, but like a story with 13 climaxes isn't a story. Like it's just a.
That's 50 Shades of Grey.
It's 50 Shades. No, it had like negative 13 climaxes.
It was a different time.
It was a different era.
And I'm glad
the Clinton administration.
I could not be more glad that we are in a different time.
Take it down. Take it down.
Take it out. Computer. So filthy.
See, I don't know what a modern Fear Effect game would be like. But I actually like going back to the Resident Evil HD. I think they could do something cool with a game that uses pre-rendered backgrounds today.
I want Dino
Making
Crisis.
a new-
Just Dino Crisis
Play
HD.
Grim Fandango Remastered.
Yes.
Well, yeah.
Pre-rendered backgrounds, it's an amazing game still.
I mean, I don't know. I think the day of pre-rendered backgrounds is kind of gone.
Well, I know, but it's just been so long. I think they could do something cool with it.
But yeah, I mean,
today.
you look how Grim Fandango sold well. Resident Evil, was Capcom's
did?
biggest digital game.
It sold well.
I hope so.
I hope so.
I had a dream where it sold really well.
I bought it.
Yeah.
No, but I'm just saying pre-rendered backgrounds were like, they were a cheat. It was like, well, we don't have the graphical
look
horsepower
cool.
to make
Yeah,
it look.
but they look
to make it,
rad.
I
want my life to be in this pre-rendered background.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
mean, that future where
This
where
is
the
a pre-rendered
backgrounds.
background right now.
But I mean, that future where the backgrounds can look like so realistic and so amazing. That future is now in real time, right? So like, we don't really need that.
the future is now. What if we had
Right.
pre-rendered
By the way,
foregrounds?
Double Helix, interesting. 'Cause there's another game that had that same subtitle, Soldier of Fortune 2, first-person
right.
shooter
Oh, yeah.
by Raven Software.
Interesting.
Also, the name of a game,
Double Helix?
Double Helix. If I remember correctly,
I thought that was a developer.
It is a developer.
It is a developer, but if I remember correctly, Double Helix was also a weird mech game for PS1. I could be totally
I believe you.
missing the mark here, but yeah, it was like a first-person perspective mech game with like a survival horror element where you go in like
Spooky
explore
mechs.
these like broken down laboratories.
this mech is haunted.
Just get out of it!
Just
It was
hop
kind
out.
of- if it's the game I'm thinking about, it was pretty cool. But maybe it's all in my head, guys. Who knows?
When was the last Soldier of Fortune game?
There was a really bad one that I reviewed called Payback, which was done by like Activision's value budget team.
I remember
so
that
it
one.
wasn't Raven. And it was sort of bad, but in like the Hercules Xena fun way. Like it was definitely not a good game, but it was
Yeah.
sort of enjoyably
yeah.
bad. And that was from, that was probably, I'm gonna guess 5 to 7 years ago at this point. Look it up.
Google it.
Let's check in with the listeners.
Yay.
Listeners, remember you can always reach us at the email address gamescoop@ign.com, just like Michael did.
Hey, Michael.
And he sent his
Mike.
email
Smart
from
fellow.
Windows Mail.
Whoa.
Says, I just listened to the most recent GameScoop episode. I'm glad to see you guys are also excited about the Banjo-Kazooie spiritual successor. We talked about this last week. Several former Rare developers are getting together to make another 90s style platformer. And
Please
that
get
sounds
funding and release on all platforms. Love IGN.
Michael says, the point was brought up that there are too many collectibles in that game. Now, this is Jared Petty talking, who's normally a very nice guy.
You mean he wasn't nice when he said
No,
that?
he's banned, after last week's episode, he's banned from the studio.
In fact, this is even referenced at the beginning of Nuts and Bolts, a game that I actually like.
Underrated.
Yeah, underrated game. There is the dialogue along the lines of, gamers aren't into collecting things anymore. Now note, Nuts and Bolts came out kind of early in the Xbox 360 life cycle, before several other franchises became more established. And since then,
I'm gonna take
we have
this.
seen that gamers do still like collecting things in games. In fact, they may like to do that more often than ever. Why do I say this? Look at the most recent open world games, Infamous series, Assassin's Creed series, Far Cry 3 and 4.
Sunset Overdrive.
Yeah.
Those games are full of optional collectibles that I see very few people complain about. And then the recent Dragon Age Inquisition was very similar. How many quests in that were basically you walking around the world trying to find collectibles? The Banjo series may seem like it has a lot of collectibles, but they actually serve a stronger purpose and I think like Crackdown, collecting them is actually fun. Not sure what that means. Anyway, that's just my opinion. Super excited for this. Love the show.
I think we can all agree that Jared's wrong.
No, I mean,
Yeah, I hadn't really thought of it. I'm running around Far Cry 4, like finding all the like treasure boxes.
Yeah, exactly.
I love
outposts
collecting.
and
So I guess the question is, did collectathons ever really go away?
I don't think they ever went away. I think the difference is that in today's kind of gaming era, like you have to contextualize those collectibles in a way that's meaningful. You know, like for instance, so with Dragon Age, right? I put 160 hours total probably in Dragon Age over the course of like 1.5 playthroughs. And I never stopped exploring and looking around for collectibles, but it wasn't because I was like, I just gotta catch them all. I just gotta have everything. It's because every little kind of loose thread that you see, you tug on it a little bit, and it leads you somewhere that seems interesting. And at the end, there's a payoff. Maybe it's a story payoff. Maybe it plays into like one of the larger game systems, like where you increase your power or your prestige,
exactly.
or you get a new skill, or you get an awesome new piece of gear that changes how you play your character.
I mean, even GTA 3. And I think carried forward in subsequent GTAs, you find enough of the, whether it's pigeons or
packages,
and you eventually get, like now at my base I have an armor vest, a flak jacket I can grab whenever I want. So.
Yeah, I think it's mostly about Banjo-Kazooie 1 did it well, or I guess just Banjo-Kazooie, where the collectibles actually helped you. Like it was less of a, well, I'm just going to get them for getting them sake, and more of like, well, if you get X amount of these, then it's going to unlock a door. If you get this, it's going to unlock a secret, which is how it should be. Like, I shouldn't just be collecting something for the sake of a checklist. But if I know there's something like the collectibles in like Yoshi's Island, you wanted to get 100% in every level because then they unlocked the secret levels, which are some of the game's best ones. So as long as you sort of give us a light at the end of the tunnel, then I think collecting stuff's fine.
Yeah, not just a light at the end of the tunnel, but I feel also lights along the way.
Yeah.
Right? Because, like, for instance, for me, like you mentioned Grand Theft Auto, I can't really say for 3 because it's been a while, but I mean, for the more recent Grand Theft Autos, I cannot be bothered to go find like 100 pigeons or like 300 hidden packages. I'm like, if maybe finding each of them is super interesting and each package gives me something, some kind of a payoff, even if it's just an interesting bit of story or anything.
Yeah.
Otherwise, and also there's got to be an interesting way about finding them. Has to be interesting. Like it can't just be like me running around in circles for 2 hours hoping I see a pigeon. I need to have leads. I need to feel like I'm kind of like picking up a breadcrumb trail and solving something and having actual real gameplay to it.
The game I remember being the tipping point when people started saying the amount of collectibles in this game is too damn high. Donkey Kong 64.
Yep, that's exactly where I was going to. And that game was because not only was there just like a dozen different forms of collectibles, but it was different for each one of the stupid characters in that game.
Yeah.
And that game is just.
So it does kind of seem like after that game came out, collectathons sort of like
Collectathon bubble burst.
Went away for a little bit, but now, as we see today, there's just lots of open world games where there's just tons of stuff to collect.
And like
I think
people have the nostalgia. Like we brought it up last week that this Banjo-Kazooie game. Then there's that Hat in Time, which is a kickstarted 3D platforming game that feels a lot like Mario Sunshine or like Banjo-Kazooie. So I think people are, especially people who like were our age at that time, are excited for stuff like that.
And I think the key thing there too is that having lots of stuff to collect just gives you more to do in that world. And if you really love that world and the world is a fun place to be, then it probably won't become a problem for you. In a case like Donkey Kong 64, where the game is, pretty much trash, going around, I don't think anyone would disagree with Donkey Kong. Well, maybe
retroactively put that on the box.
I bet IGN would disagree with
Pretty much trash.
No, it's not
9.9, Craig Harris.
But I mean, especially a game like that where like the core gameplay is not that fun. Why would I want more of something that's not that fun?
Sure.
Masochism.
Yep. Because I hate myself. Yeah.
Speaking of masochism,
Oh, nice segue.
before we go this week, what are we going to play this weekend? I just crossed the 20-hour mark in Darkest Dungeon.
Oh, yes.
Which I love. That's my favorite game of the year.
It's so good.
I'm going to be playing that for a long time.
Yep,
and
so thoroughly good.
Masochism is one of the quirks that
the
characters
status
get
effects,
when they get to insane. I also downloaded The Escapists and started checking that out last night, but it didn't grab me right away.
Escapists?
Yeah, it's out now for Xbox
It just
One,
hit this week.
Yeah.
PC.
Okay.
It's an 8-bit Prison Break style game,
Oh,
but it's
cool.
like
It's by Team 17, the Worms guys.
yes.
Oh,
Is it
no.
actually by
You
them, or do they
instantly
just
make-
sort of like
They're in on it somehow.
they-
yeah.
You've instantly made me want to play this game.
Yeah,
Because
I don't know.
anything-
Tell me what you think about it. The first like half hour didn't really grab me when I was playing it last night, but it's getting good reviews, so
Yeah.
I don't know. We're gonna see. But what are you guys gonna play this weekend?
Yeah, I'm still working on Dying Light, huge game. I really like it. It's just there's just enough new about it. I mean, I've always gotten the Left 4 Dead meets Mirror's Edge vibe from it, but it turns out it's a pretty deep, almost RPG-ish kind of game too. The first half an hour of the game, you're not even fighting anything.
Yeah,
it's just
yeah.
setting up characters, and it's a really, really interesting first-person experience. And then actually just installed Far Cry 4 last night. Speaking of,
you just started playing that?
I'm just finally about to get
man.
into it because I was busy
Love
with
that
other
game.
things over the fall season.
Yeah.
So.
I was playing Darkest Dungeon.
Yeah.
But my girlfriend and I were trading off. Like we both had our own campaigns, and she would play for an hour or two, and I'd like coach her, and then I would play for an hour or two, and she would point stuff out. But then we decided to stop because we don't want to burn ourselves out and like see most of what the game has to offer.
Because it's in early access.
It's still in early access, and I think they're still working on the mid and late games.
Yeah.
Sections of the game. We just don't want to. We already know that this game is going to be so excellent for us,
Game
and that
is
we're
something
loving it so
special.
much
Yeah, absolutely.
that we actually put it down because we want to be able to fully enjoy it once it's a
I get that.
finished product later.
Yeah.
That's how much we like it already. But I'm all day, every day. Every day I'd be evolving.
Evolving.
Every day I'd be evolving.
Every day
play
I'd be evolving.
more of that too.
Evolve.
You're gonna play a game tonight that I'm very excited for.
Oh yes, I am. That's right. I'm gonna get a chance to play Disgaea 5 this evening, which we're both big Disgaea fans.
Yeah.
First time the series is coming to the current gen platforms. Interested to see what the PS4 does, if anything, for the visual style of those games.
Yeah,
So
I mean those aren't like really visually or
Right.
graphically intense games.
Sure,
but they have
sure.
like a very cool anime style. So.
yeah, so I'm interested to see how they adapt that look, if at all, to the modern hardware, or if they just play it straight, which would be fine by me. So either way, I'm super excited for that.
Nice.
And Marty.
I'm going to play through the order, especially because I know it's only 6 or 7 hours long.
Yeah.
Just to sort of, not to say I did it, but I feel like
Also, you host a PlayStation podcast.
I also host a
you should
PlayStation
probably-
podcast, so I should probably
Yeah,
do
I
that.
actually
again.
I want to play it too because the gameplay from I've played it in little tiny slices at shows like E3. And,
Sure.
And the combat feels super Gears of War-y in a I played this 9 years ago kind of way. But actually, I'm super interested in the story, and our review by Brendan Tyrell said the story's good.
Yeah, the story, the world's cool. Obviously, the game's gorgeous. And again, we've talked about this a few times, but I like the fact. I mean, a lot of people are in a hoopla over the fact that the game's like 6 hours long, but I'm like, nope,
No, it's
totally.
fine.
I love that.
Have
Yeah.
no free time, so if I
am
could
all
beat it in
about-
2 sittings, then
Yeah, I'm all about an awesome 8-hour game with no filler in it.
Yeah.
It's like I have a full-time job and a family, so a 40-hour thing is actually kind of intimidating to me these days.
Yeah.
I know it's that there's a switch that flips at some point in your life.
Yeah,
like
when
when
you're
you're younger and you have tons of free time and not as many responsibilities. Not that that's a good thing. That's not a it's
Also,
a
you have
healthy
less
little thing.
disposable income, so you need like
More
a
for your
game.
value.
Sure,
Yeah.
yeah. I'll also be playing a handful of indie games. I got builds of that during GDC, the Game Developer Conference, which is in San Francisco at the beginning of March.
2 weeks.
Yeah, in 2 weeks. We hold a really cool sort of indie mix event in our office where you have like 50 or 60 devs setting
that
up
event.
games. So I'm playing a lot of those games, and we're going to...
What's been at those in years past?
God, in years past...
Last year, Chariot was at our event last year.
Chariot.
Which is out now.
Hack and Slash.
Yeah, Hack and Slash. Double Fine always has a
Hyper Light Drifter.
Hyper Light Drifter, Roundabout. Yeah, a lot of really cool games. And the list, I saw the list that we have this year. I think it's not published yet, but the list is awesome. So a lot of cool stuff that we'll be covering the next couple weeks.
Cool, very exciting.
I think that's all the scoops we have for you this week. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Vince. Thank you, Marty.
Yeah.
Remember, you can always reach us at the email address, gamescoop@ign.com. My name is Damon. This is IGN GameScoop, and we're out.